There are 27 different CDDOs in the state. So I know that this is, there's people throughout Kansas on here. So if you have a question about something that's not in Johnson County, or you want to find your CDDO, you can Google search McPherson County CDDO and it'll bring it up. So what we do is we help families get on the waiver, the waiting list, and then we also do a variety of things. So if your loved one qualifies for the IDD waiver, the CDDO will be with you throughout the entire journey, throughout the entire lifespan. Next slide. So I know you as parents know that folks like to really throw around acronyms, and we're not any different. We will do a lot of acronyms all the time. So we're going to try and spell some of these out because you have a lot going on, and it gets confusing between school and HCBS. So HCBS is the Home and Community-Based Services Waiver. What that means, it's a federal Medicaid program in the form of waivered services distributed by each state, and each state does it differently. And I listed some of the different waiver services and focused on the ones that children can qualify for. So there's the SED waiver, which is severe emotional disturbance. That's for children ages 4 to 18. That is where you would go to the community mental health center. The community mental health center would determine if the child qualifies for SED. There's the autism waiver, and that is up through age 5, and you have to have an autism diagnosis. Technology assistance waiver, that's through age 21, and that is if your child is dependent on intensive medical technology, they're medically fragile, things like that, that TA waiver. Brain injury is a congenital, non-chromosomal brain injury. So ages 0 through up, that's the brain injury waiver. PD, physical disability, that's for people 16 to 64, and that is determined by Social Security Administration, and they define and figure out and determine who needs help with their ADLs. What we're talking about and what the CDDO does is the IDD waiver, and that is for people 5 years and up, intellectual developmental disability. Next slide. So, you know, another acronym that we talk about, IDD. So what is an IDD? An IDD is something that originated at birth or manifested before age 22. It's attributable to a mental or physical impairment. It's expected to continue indefinitely, such as Down syndrome, things like that. Substantially restricts the individual's functioning in several major life activities. So the person who gets an IDD diagnosis needs assistance with self-care, expressive language, learning. You know, they might be on an IEP at school. Mobility, they might be in a wheelchair or something like that. Capacity for independent living, they would need somebody to help them make a grocery list and shop or help them bathe. And the capacity for self-sufficiency. So things like, can they understand money? Things like that, the value of money. And this was defined in the Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act. And this is the IDD diagnosis that the CDDO utilizes when we're looking at eligibility for the waiver. Next slide. Some common IDD diagnosis: autism, fetal alcohol syndrome, cerebral palsy. We talked about Down syndrome, seizure disorders, intellectual or cognitive deficits, brain injury. And one of the things that we've noted, there is 20% of the estimated number of people known to be served by state IDD agencies. So that means that there's a lot of folks that could benefit from this IDD waiver that either don't know about the IDD waiver or don't know how to get on the waiting list. So there's a lot of people that we need to make sure that we're reaching out to so we can assist and help them live the life that they choose. You know, there's also these rare genetic disorders due to advancements in genetics. It's becoming more common. So, you know, there's that list of IDD diagnoses, but there's also things coming up through this advancements in genetics that make it really tricky. So, you know, you get a diagnosis from your family doctor. We'll talk about this more later. And then we'll look at eligibility from there. Okay, next slide, Stephanie. This video, we actually borrowed it, is a nice word, from the state of Washington. However, I think it sums up what we do very nicely. So go ahead, Stephanie.
Organized to demand an end to segregation for Americans with disabilities who were denied basic rights like attending schools, holding jobs, or choosing homes. This led to a major milestone with the U.S. Supreme Court's Olmstead decision. Like Brown versus Board of Education, the decision that ended racial segregation in public schools, Olmstead affirmed the idea that nobody can be separated from society and denied the right to make decisions for themselves. But it wasn't always this way. For decades, Americans with disabilities were largely housed in facilities like nursing homes, psychiatric hospitals, or in developmental disability institutions, where residents had to follow rules about things like when and what they could eat, when they could go outside, and even who they were allowed to date or marry. Society had an institutional bias, leaving few alternatives for people with disabilities. Disability activists fought back by organizing. From the 1960s to the 80s, activists staged protests and demonstrations, cases moved through the courts, and new legislation was passed, expanding access to housing, education, employment, and healthcare. Finally, a sweeping civil rights bill known as the Americans with Disabilities Act passed in 1990. Despite this progress, there were still gaps. People with disabilities could still be institutionalized. Then, in 1999, the case of Olmstead versus Lois Curtis and Elaine Wilson was brought before the Supreme Court. In the Olmstead decision, the court concluded that people with disabilities have a right to receive state-funded supports in the community rather than in facilities, affirming the argument that had been made by advocates for decades. Having these choices isn't more expensive. In fact, it costs less. In 2009, the National Council on Disability found the annual cost of institutional care was more than community-based supports in every state. $188,000 per person in a facility versus only about $42,000 for comparable services in the community. Later, cases based on Olmstead pushed states to create plans to reduce their institutionalized populations. Yet, progress has been slow. According to the last U.S. Census in 2010, over 2 million people were housed in some kind of facility. But community living isn't just a preference, it's a civil right. That's the legacy of the Olmstead decision. You have the right to choose your community and the right to access supports you may need in your home, rather than in a facility. For more information in Washington State, contact Disability Rights Washington at 800-562-2702 or go to disabilityrightswa.org.
You know, our friends at the
Produced by
MCO,
Rooted in Rights.
Our friends from the MCOs are on this call, and it'd be great as a sidebar if we could make a video like that, because it really shows the history of HCBS and really working to help people live the life they choose in the community that they want to live in. And that's what the waiver's all about. And person first language, we've really worked on that. You know, it used to be very common for people to say, oh, he's autistic. And we don't say that kind of stuff anymore. That's a person with autism. So big changes in ensuring that folks have rights to do and live where they want to be and have the supports that they need. Next slide. Here's just some more background. The Developmental Disability Reform Act was passed in 1995, DDRA, you'll hear that. And the four guiding principles are independence, integration, inclusion, and productivity. And Kansas was at the forefront of this, you know, advocacy to help people live the lives and deinstitutionalize. And with this DDRA came the establishment of CDDOs. And there's 27 of us, and we're here. We know about what the community resources are, so we're here to support our communities. Go ahead, Stephanie. So primary functions of the CDDO, as I said earlier, will be with you and your loved one throughout the lifespan. So we're the single point of entry for people seeking services. So if your child has an IDD waiver, or I'm sorry, IDD diagnosis, and you want to get on the waiting list for waiver services, you come to us. Then we will determine if your child meets the eligibility for services to be on the waiting list, and we'll talk about that more. And then we do the coordination of access to services and support. So we help you and your loved one with choice and the list of providers in our community. And it's all your choice. We just give you a list and you decide what you like. We provide information and referral, and we also work with a network of affiliate providers in Johnson County. Day programs, residential, employment, targeted case management, all of those. We work with all of the providers. And we also, through the lifespan, ensure that the person is receiving person-centered quality services. So they have choice. They get to choose where they go, where they live, and all of that stuff that you and I do every day. Okay, Stephanie, next slide. Thank you, Stephanie, for running the PowerPoint, by the way. I can't multitask like that, so that's fantastic. So the Medicaid waiver the program is designed to keep people in their home communities. In Kansas, our model, as we talked about, each state has a different way that they do this program. Our state has a managed care model. And the managed care model is known as Can Care. And then individuals enroll in one of the 3 MCOs, United, Aetna, and Sunflower. Also, we just show that, you know, people would think it was very expensive for, you know, to provide all of these supports in the community. And actually it's not. It's cheaper than institutions of days past. So it's more cost effective, it's person served, and you know, it's just a great movement from getting people out of institutions and living the life that they choose. Next slide. So here's the CDDOs. There's 27. Johnson County Developmental Supports is designated as the CDDO for Johnson County. So there's 26 others statewide, and we have a contract with Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services, KDADS. That will be something you hear often. Again, if you're not in Johnson County, you can just Google search Seward County CDDO, and it's gonna tell you. This map is also on the KDADS website, and it's going to be in your PowerPoint, so you can refer to that as well. Next slide. So here's the stuff that you all have been waiting for, and this is where people start getting confused and things like that. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you through this process of determining eligibility. There are 3 forms of eligibility for the HCBS waiver program. So that means, does the person have an IDD diagnosis? And that needs to be from, you know, a qualified medical professional, a doctor, something like that. So once you have that, that first hurdle is covered. Then functional. That's when you come to the CDDO, and that's what we determine is functional eligibility. And that means, you know, everybody has different abilities. So we look at, we utilize this assessment tool to see how much support does somebody need to be able to live the life they want to live with in the community of their choice. And then financial. Do they meet Medicaid income requirements? And we'll touch briefly on that too. Next slide. So your child was diagnosed with an IDD. What do you do next? Contact the CDDO. We will then start the determination of functional eligibility, which we were just talking about. An intake will be completed, and then you'll provide a variety of documentation to the CDDO, that qualified diagnosis, guardianship, IEPs, just a variety of things. And it can be tedious, but we're here to help and support you through this and make sure that we have all the documentation that we need to provide to the state. Next slide.
Mandy, we just have a quick question that came in, a clarifying question. Is the HCBS IDD waiver the same as the CDDO waiver, the same as the Medicaid waiver? All 3 are the same thing, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sherry has been here for a while. She hasn't been called, she's never heard it called the CDDO waiver, but that's very good because at least people will get to the CDDO where we can help. I just did a quick screenshot, so you would call the CDDO and we will send out a packet of stuff to you. Here's one of the forms that you will see. It's basic information. That's what it will look like. You'll fill that out and send it back to us. That'll be in part of those documents that you have to provide to us before we can move forward with the next step. Stephanie, go ahead. You will also receive a letter from us, and it will it's a lot of information on one page, and I can see where it could be confusing because there's so much in this one document. So what this letter says is it explains what the CDDO does, what our responsibilities are, IDD service options like case management day program. It will explain the determination of Kansas IDD criteria, and there's an intake checklist and the forms the CDDO needs from you. So I took a screenshot so when you get it, you'll remember this hopefully and not be overwhelmed by it. Next slide. So that's what it looks like. It's pretty darn overwhelming. So when you see that, just know it's from David Gibbs, and on the back of it, it has the checklist of everything that we need you to provide to us so we can move forward in determining eligibility. Next slide. We have all that paperwork. You did the information form, you got the diagnoses, signed by the doctor, all of that. We have it all. So what happens now? The CDDO, we have an eligibility determination specialist. His name is Seth. he will contact you to schedule what is called an access meeting. And just think of access to services, access to the waiver. Because just because somebody has a diagnosis of IDD, it does not mean that they're going to be eligible for the waiver. So Seth goes out and he determines if they're eligible. And that's that functional eligibility we talked about. We are required to use the functional assessment tool utilized by the state of Kansas. And we ask a variety of questions about household work, health, seizures, behavior, all of that kind of just whole person, what do we need to know? And I would recommend, it can be hard as a parent. I've talked to Stephanie about this. It can be hard as a parent sometimes to reveal some of those things, but it's very important that you're open and honest about what's going on and the needs of your child. So we can ensure that it's properly captured and determine eligibility. So Seth will do that basis, and the date he finishes the basis and he sends the information to KDADS, that is the date the person is put on the waiting list. And we'll talk about the waiting list briefly. The waiting list is almost 9 years. It's actually 8 3/4 years right now. And we'll talk about that here in a slide coming up. If a person is found ineligible, a letter will be sent to the family and we will refer you to other services that will be beneficial. If you ever get an ineligibility, there is an appeal process, and we also give you the appeal process information, and that must be pursued in writing no less than 30 days after you receive that ineligibility letter. So that's what we do. That's the whole process right there. Next slide. So this is kind of what it looks like right here. There's a Kansan with IDD. Come to the CDDO. We perform eligibility. They qualify. Is funding available? Yes. Then it's time to choose a community service provider. If funding is not available, AKA, that means we're going to the waiting list and we're going to be waiting. So that eligibility is program and functional. So that's what we do right there. Go ahead, Stephanie. Financial eligibility, we do not determine financial eligibility. However, we can help fill out paperwork. So we put the resource for the CanCare Ombudsman, Clearinghouse. We don't determine eligibility for Medicaid, but those are the resources right there that can assist that. All right, Stephanie. So then that's step 3. You get through that hurdle. Now you choose an MCO. There is Aetna, Sunflower, and United. And I believe they're going to be talking after I'm done boring you all to death. You will get to talk to the 3 MCOs. Next slide. So here's the waiting list. That is the primary way to receive funding. So you're eligible, you're on the waiting list. Currently in Johnson County, we're serving over 1,700 people. That means 1,700 people in group homes, independent living, day services, targeted case management, things like that. We have 767 people on the Johnson County, just for Johnson County on the waiting list. Statewide, it's around 9,000 people receiving services and 3,800. And those are a couple of months old, those numbers, so it's probably a little bit more than that now. But it's almost a 9-year wait list for services. It's 8 3/4 is the wait right now. So we encourage everyone, apply early. you know, your child is in school, start this process while they're, you know, young. That way you're on the waiting list and you can time it where, you know, they're transitioning out of school. It's right around that time that you get the funding offer for the IDD waiver. So we encourage everyone to not put this off. If you somehow you apply when your child's 6 and you get offered services when they're 13, we encourage you to take a service so you have those services. Next slide. So once you receive that funding, you're off the waiting list. These are the types of services. And remember, CDDO, we work with all of the people who provide these services. These are the types of services that your loved one can get. Targeted case management, that one you can get as soon as your child qualifies to be on the waiver. So if you're on the waiting list, you can choose a TCM, and that TCM can help you find different resources while you're on the waiting list. The others, though, we have to wait until you get the funding, because TCM is funded through a different entity. There's day supports, residential, personal care. You guys can all read up more on these, but really the key is what is going to work best for the person receiving services. And that's kind of the menu of what you can choose in Kansas that will meet their needs. Next slide. So what we want you to leave with is that if a person has a diagnosis with an IDD, contact the CDDO. We will then help you throughout the process. I think the big key is making sure that people understand to contact us, and that, you know, it's time consuming, so start early, and we'll be there to assist you throughout the way. Next slide. And here is our contact information. You guys will be getting the PowerPoints, so you can just click on Johnson County CDDO, it's hyperlinked, and it will take you to our website. I will also say we have on our homepage resources specifically for families during COVID-19. If you have children who have been home from school, things like that, we have a list of services, resources. You don't have to be on the waiver, that you can look into to see if there's anything on there that would be helpful to you. Also, KDADS, the IDD Commission, who oversee the state IDD waiver, there's their resource. And then the enrollment guide to KDADS for the waiver. There's a link to that, and it just tells you about every waiver service, autism, HCBS IDD, TA. It just tells you briefly about all of them, who to contact, how it goes, the process, and all of that. And I am 3 minutes over, so thank you all, and we will be around for questions after the other presenters. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mandy. Appreciate it. We do have several questions, but we will go ahead and ask them at the end. Next up, we have Debbie Pfeiffer from Aetna. I will bring up her.
Great. While we're waiting on that, thanks for having me, Stephanie, and for this group. I appreciate the invitation. I'm looking forward to being able to share information about Aetna with everybody today. And also thanks, Mandy, for that information. That was terrific information. So it's always good to hear that. So to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Debbie Pfeiffer. I am the Intellectual Developmental Disabilities Administrator for Aetna Better Health of Kansas. I have been in the field of developmental disabilities for about 30 years. I've done different roles. I was a Chief Program Officer for an agency that worked with adults with developmental disabilities, providing residential supports. I've worked in quality assurance. I've worked for state government, so all different capacities in the field of developmental disabilities. So now at Aetna, I get to work with providers, with families, and with our service coordinators to be able to support our members with developmental disabilities. And I also get to speak to great groups like you guys. So a little about Aetna. Mandy talked about the MCOs, the managed care organizations. So with CanCare, there's 3 of us. Aetna is the newest managed care organization. We started last January. So new kids on the block, and we work with all populations in Medicaid. So what I want to do today is talk to you guys a little bit about the benefits that we have as an MCO, kind of specifically to some things I thought this group might be interested in. And also, before I get into kind of Aetna specific, just for people who haven't been involved in an MCO before, the MCOs that we're going to all 3 talk today, but we all provide the same basic Medicaid coverage. We're required through our CanCare contracts. So it's the same basic Medicaid coverage, but we have some differences with things called VABs, they're called value added benefits. And those are the extras that MCOs, managed care organizations, can provide. So I'll talk to you a little bit about Aetna's extras, the value added benefits as well today. Okay, next slide, please. And also, when I'm talking to people, when people are joining an MCO too, just to encourage people to talk, ask questions, and you're always free to call member services and ask questions. You know, each family is unique, situations are unique, so always call member services. Is 24 hours a day, and you can call and ask questions too, pertaining to your own situation. Okay, next slide, please. So we have a lot of benefits. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to talk about a few that I thought this group might be interested in. So for all of our members, we have a 24-hour nursing line. So a lot of our members like this kind of peace of mind where people can call 24 hours a day for any kind of questions, nursing questions. Then we have service coordination, and this is a great benefit. So if there's anybody who is with an MCO who's not using service coordination, I encourage you to use this as a benefit. It's a terrific benefit. Our service coordinators are able to offer a lot of services to our members. They help with finding doctors, specialists, getting people hooked up with services in the community, helping with planning, finding resources, information, education. So service coordination is a great benefit, and it's free. So if you're not using it, I encourage you to use it, but that's a great benefit. Also, mobile app. We get a lot of people are like, they like the mobile app, a lot of insurance information on there, doctors information, a lot of educational resources on there as well. Okay, next slide, please. We offer expanded transportation services. We also offer non-emergency medical transportation. Transportation is hard. It's difficult, and also depends on where you live. In Kansas too, it can be hard to get. So we offer non-emergency medical transportation. We want to make sure people are getting to their doctor's appointments, they're accessing medical care. So we offer transportation to medical appointments. Okay, next slide, please. We also do a lot to reward members for making sure that they're doing healthy activities. So the next couple slides have a few of our activities that we provide rewards for. And those are like gift cards, things like that, to encourage people on their path to good health. So you can see on this, if someone goes for health risk screening, there's like a $10 gift card. They go for a mammogram, another $10 gift card. So incentives. Next slide, please.
Hey, Amy.
Looks like we've got someone else helping on the call. So for this one again, someone goes for a flu shot, $15 gift card, colonoscopy, prostate screening. So I'm just adding gift cards again to make sure that people are on that path to good health. Next slide, please. And another one, I guess I put in a couple. So there's a lot of rewards. So again, a lot of incentives that we give to our members. This one is for adults. This is our Promise Pregnancy Program. So this is to make sure we've got some healthy moms and healthy babies. So there's a lot of incentives built in for prenatal visits, postpartum visits. So a lot of gift cards and incentives are built into this program. Next slide, please. And then for children and teens, we have a Teddy Bear Club, and this is kind of specific to kids, activity books, gift cards, that type of thing, more encouraging kids for healthy behaviors and attending their appointments, that kind of thing too. Okay, next slide. So I had mentioned the VABs, those value-added benefits, the extras, and Mandy had talked about how each MCO has different, the different MCOs, we have the different VABs. So I'm not going to talk about all of them, just a couple that I think you guys might be interested in. Okay, next slide. So this is for all of our members. These are value-added benefits for all of our members. Again, transportation. Transportation is really important, and we understand that's hard for a lot of our members. So we offer 10 free rides for things that are like job-related activities, job training, shopping for work, clothing, also grocery shopping. So 10 free rides in addition to the medical appointment rides. Another new benefit that we have this year that people really like are a $25 over-the-counter benefit. So every month, people can order $25 worth of over-the-counter supplies. It's a great benefit. There's a catalog. People can order from home, and everything's delivered to their house. So it's got things on there like first aid supplies, wipes, gloves, Depends, thermometers, blood pressure cuffs, all kinds of over-the-counter stuff. So that's $25 every month that people can pick things for that. There's also cell phone, and the cell phone has got 350 free minutes and a gigabyte of data, and then like free texting and all that kind of stuff on it too. So that's a popular one as well. Okay, next slide, please. So Mandy had talked about waivers, the different waivers. So we have some benefits that are specifically for people who are on some of those waivers. So this one, our first one, we have pest control services up to $250 per year for people on some specific waivers, the IDD waiver, the physical disability waiver, the frail and elderly waiver, and the brain injury waiver. Another one that I want to make sure you guys are aware of is we provide 120 hours of respite care to people who are on the IDD wait list. And you guys heard Mandy talk about how long that wait list was, almost 9 years long. So if our members are on that IDD wait list, they're not on the waiver yet, we do offer this as a benefit. So it's 120 hours per year of respite, which is great for families. It gives parents a break. So another really popular benefit that we have. Okay, next slide, please. Children and teens, more things that are just geared towards our teens. There's $50 a year that teens can use for things like YMCA, 4-H, Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scout, Girl Scouts, that type of thing. Also incentives for them, like a teen annual well-teen visit, $25 gift card for them. For the kiddos with an asthma diagnosis, they can get an air purifier. And another transportation benefit, because again, transportation is just hard. We offer 10 free rides for our families to get to the kids who are in inpatient psychiatric treatment who need to attend family counseling. So it's hard to get to that sometimes. So we offer more transportation for those families. Okay, next slide, please. For our adults, we offer 2 dental cleanings, x-rays, that kind of stuff every year, up to $500 for a benefit. There's a 12-week Weight Watchers membership, vision services, including $50 towards enhancements that aren't covered, usually assistance, podiatry visits for members with diabetes, home delivered meals, which is really popular with a lot of our members. When people go into the hospital, when they come out, we offer home delivered meals for 7 days. So people are really interested in that one. It gives them time to come home, rest, and heal and not have to worry about cooking. We also have a No Place Like Home grant, which this is for people who are like in a nursing facility and they're coming back to the community. And that's a $5,000 grant. So that's another one that is really popular. Okay, next slide, please. So member services, I mentioned it's open 24 hours. There's the number and our website too. So I encourage people, families who are new to this kind of thing to call, ask questions, get on the website. There's a lot of information on the website and to get more information for questions. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's all I've got. I wanted to thank you guys for your time. I know the other MCOs are up too, and when everybody's done, we're going to have a Q&A session. So I'm going to stick around and I will be available for the Q&A when everybody else is done. So thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And then up next, we have Sunflower. With Nan Perrin.
Great. Give me 1 second. Just want to make sure I get my screen shared.
Oh yes, I forgot you were.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and not mess with turning on my video. So I am just going to do my PowerPoint so I don't confuse it. So I'm actually going to do about the first half, and then I'm going to hand you over to Cheryl Locker, who is our employment and all around social determinants of health subject matter expert. So I'm Nan Perrin, have a fairly similar history to Debbie. I work with Sunflower Health Plan. I've been working with individuals with IDD and their families, especially children with autism, for about 33 years because I started when I was 5, and of course you guys can't see me, so it's not nearly as funny, but anyway, just have been in the field for a long time and really enjoy working with families and supporting them, and have been with Sunflower Health Plan for 4 years. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of Sunflower and kind of where we come from in our history, and then talk a little bit similar to Debbie about our value-added benefits and what we specifically, how we approach individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and where we might be available for support. So one of the things that we always want to talk about when we're talking about how we're supporting individuals is that we're really doing culturally competent care. So making sure that we're providing quality healthcare services regardless of age, socioeconomic, et cetera. So really that is a hallmark focus, is making sure that we are trying to support members where they are and meeting them there, and providing that educational information, resources in a culturally competent way. So one of the ways that we do that really is by encouraging coordination of care. One of the most important things is that you don't have individuals who are supporting your family member or you working in silos, because we do know that everything works together. So if we don't feel well because our physical health is compromised, and that also may result in behavioral challenges or result in impact to our behavioral health. As well as in this time of COVID and the conversation, one of the big buzzwords that's out there all the time is social isolation. And we know that for many individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, that's an even bigger issue all of the time. But during COVID, it's just really become a very high emphasis. So we really want to make sure that we're coordinating that care across all of the providers that support an individual. So once someone is on the IDD waiver, that includes their DD waiver providers, as well as their primary care physician, their behavioral health professionals, all of them. So when does coordination take place? Really at regular periodic intervals during treatment, making sure that everyone is working together to support what an individual member needs. So we, as I mentioned, Cheryl's going to talk a little bit more about this later, but social determinants of health, that is something that is also kind of a buzzword, but that's really the conditions where people are born, where they grow, where they live, where they work. And we do know that a huge proportion of our health outcomes are really impacted by these social determinants. These circumstances really show the difference across socioeconomic needs, where you live. There are examples that are very close to us where individuals don't have access to food. And so, or our transportation. Transportation is very limited. So some of the things that we are working on specifically are under the area of employment. Looking at we have a program that Cheryl's going to talk a little more about, the Sunflower Transition to Employment, GED prep, as well as we support Project Search statewide coordination. We have a housing facilitator who participates across the state in different ways, as well as is available if individuals have questions about their housing or about the legal options for them. Food insecurity, we work with farmers markets, and then social integration. We have an enhanced transportation benefit that allows for social activities for members on the frail and elderly and physical disability waivers. So one of the ways that we really try to support that care coordination is through our care management program. And that is something that anyone who is a member of Sunflower can call in to customer service if you don't know who your care manager is, or if you want to request one. And that is something that that is someone who may be a social worker, maybe a nurse, but they will work with you on identifying what those goals are, and they will support that coordination across your providers. So really wanting to make sure that we are working together with you. For individuals who are on the DD waiver, they will get to know their care coordinator very well because they will meet with that person several times a year, as well as have regular contact. So on the waiver, those interactions are much more frequent. So, and similar to Aetna, members can self-refer by calling that customer service center. And again, those numbers are available on a 24-hour basis. So EPSDT, just because I don't know why, I guess with Mandy, I felt the need to add in another acronym, but there is, once you have Medicaid, in addition to waiver services, you are eligible for medical services. Those include for children, something called EPSDT, which is early periodic screening, diagnostic, and treatment services. And so there's an array of services that are available just to children, specifically under this program. So if you have Medicaid and have questions about it, there's definitely some great information on the Medicaid.gov website, but you can always ask that question as well. Is this something under EPSDT? And so, for example, Mandy spoke about the autism waiver earlier, which is only for children birth to 5. But there are actually services available for individuals with autism up through 21 through EPSDT. So there are some additional services specific to behavioral consultation that is available just with an autism diagnosis under this category. So one of the things that we really strive for at Sunflower is to make sure that our interactions with you are both culturally sensitive, but then also very person-centered. So when we talk about individuals with developmental disabilities, Mandy shared that great video that kind of talked about the history. But the truth of the matter is sometimes for individuals with disabilities, those choices are still very limited. And the Life Course tools, and the website is there on your slide, really shows some great examples of how you can ensure that that individual is at the center of all decisions that relate to his or her life. And so it's really about making their views primary, or not making, but ensuring that the team is really respecting that, because it is key and something that often can get forgotten when we're talking about individuals with disabilities. So in one of the ways at Sunflower that we approach that is making sure that when we're talking about our goals, when we're talking about the goals for an individual member, that the person is at the center, but that we're also always focused on how can we improve their quality of life. And these are just the 8 domains. And if you ever want to hear more, we love to talk about those. So here's an example of kind of those extra services, and value-added benefit is just a service that is provided in addition to Medicaid benefits. And so, as Debbie kind of mentioned from Aetna, our regular Medicaid benefits, those are the same regardless of which NCO you have, but really what you can pick and choose is in relation to value-added services, because that's where there's some things that we do a little bit differently. So some of those things include dental, 2 dental visits for adults, children, and those services are really under their regular Medicaid benefits. My Health Pays is a similar program to what Debbie mentioned with Aetna, and that's where you get money on a card for some different health activities that you participate in. Also, for individuals on Medicaid, they can access a free smartphone through SafeLink, and those get limited data, and that was all increased with COVID, but for the short term anyway, and then also voice minutes. But you can do unlimited texting and calls to our member services line. Start Smart for Your Baby. So that is a program where we support pregnant members, babies, and families. And that also includes some WIC transportation. And now I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl and let her tell you a little bit quickly about the rest of our value-added benefits.
Thanks, Nan. So some of the things that we like to focus on, you skipped over Sunny.
I did, I'm sorry.
Scott Sunny. We do have community programs that we provide the membership for the Boys and Girls Clubs. And then Sunflower also has programs with several schools across the state where we adopt a school and provide different services within the school and encourage lunch buddies and different types of relationships like that. Sunny's Kids Club, that's Sunny there on the slide, is a program that is actually for anybody. You don't have to be a Sunflower member. We do provide educational activity books and other health-related children's books throughout the year to families. You can sign up online on Sunflower's website. And then something that is really an exciting thing for us is that we provide farmers market vouchers to various farmers markets across the year. One day at the farmers market, we sponsor it, and Sunflower members can come and they can get $10 worth of coupons per member. So if there's a family that has 5 different Sunflower members, they actually get $50 in coupon vouchers for the farmers market. And even though we were not able to go face-to-face this year and hand those out at different farmers markets, we were able to make it work, and they were mailed out to our members. So it was really exciting. Great way to get healthy food. Next slide. Thank you. We do offer in-home telehealth. We have special programs for people with diabetes and heart failure. We can do, if you are concerned about how many medications you are on, we have a pharmacist that can look at your medication. And then we have multiple programs that we can hook you up with a health coach to manage weight, disease management, chronic health conditions, and managing your emotions. One of the things we have to help with mental health, which is really a big concern right now with COVID, we're all kind of living in higher anxiety and fear, is this app that you can put on your smartphone or your iPad that is called My Strength. And it has a lot of really great strategies and ways that you can work on your own mental health. And then we have a nursing home to community transition support for those that need that support. And we also have caregiving collaborations, which is a caregiver support program, because those of you who are really in the trenches and taking care of somebody 24 hours a day, it's a really hard job. And we want to be able to support those people. So we have different types of programs to provide support for them. And then the program that I help really navigate is our STEP program, which is for employment support and transportation to help alleviate those barriers. So Sunflower members can connect with me. We do have GED vouchers. We help pay for the GED Ready and the GED test. I also help walk them through the process, connect them to different places where they can get support for employment. and help them navigate that. We also then, I believe, next slide maybe, have transportation benefits that to help individuals get to their interviews or to job fairs. And this is how people can connect with me. And I think I heard that you guys will be getting all this information and that this is recorded. So that is that program. Next slide. I thought that was it. All right. So we will pass you on over and we'll be available for questions at the end.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks, Nan and Cheryl. Next up is Celia Ruiz from United Healthcare.
So hello, everyone. You're in the final stretch. So wave your hands if you still have some energy in you. All right, thank you. Thank you, Elaine, I see you. So I just have to say thank you. This is an evening Zoom, and I'm sure everyone has had very much a busy day, and so then connecting online, I can't say thank you enough. And I don't have my camera on, so someone should have told me that. So, but thank you so much really for connecting. It's really exciting to be back in the same arena with the MCOs. I know there was a question in the chat that said, how do the CDOs and the MCOs work together? I would say that this is a good example of how we can work together, not only with the CDOs, but also amongst the MCOs. We want to be available. Everyone wants to be available. This is a very challenging time, to say the least. And
Celia,
so
I apologize
yes.
for interrupting. You are sounding a little breaking up just a little bit. So
okay, I'm gonna take off my headphones and see if that helps. Can you all hear me a little bit better?
yes, I think
okay,
so.
we'll do it that way.
Great,
so I'll
you.
just kind of go through here. I won't go too quickly because I want to make sure that we can cover all of these pieces. But my name is Celia Reese. I'm with United Healthcare. I've been with United since we started back in 2000. I came in before the 2013 start date, but 2012. But I've been in Medicaid since the year 2000. And just as it was mentioned earlier, we all have experiences prior to our work lives. And so then when I was younger, I did a lot of translating and I did a lot of filling out applications for other adults in my household. So kind of jumped into it when I was a lot younger. But value-added benefits, we've heard about those before. So that's the benefits that go above and beyond the basic Medicaid benefits that all of us share. Some of the, and you'll see here where it says changes. Every year, we come out with our value-added benefits. For the most part, they all stay the same, but we definitely hear back from our members and the community saying, have you thought about this? Could you make an adjustment this way? And we really like to hear from our members in the community. And this is where we were able to make changes for this year, 2020. We hope to have our 2021 value-added benefits ready to go and ready to share very soon. Once they are ready to go, we will definitely share them with the CDDOs so they can share them with you all. But I can't stress it enough. If you have one of the MCOs right now in August, use your benefits through the end of this year. Take advantage of those services. And then come 2021, use those benefits as well. So much like the others, we have an enhanced transportation benefit where we provide 12 round-trip rides to places like pharmacy, grocery stores, food pantries, WIC, job interviews, shopping for work clothes. As it was mentioned earlier, transportation is a challenge throughout the entire state. You know, whether it's a smaller town or a bigger town. So we want to make sure that we're using this transportation for things that can make every day a little bit easier. Happy and Healthy Home is where we'll provide a $1,000 debit card to help those purchase wellness items that support their independent living when they're moving into the community from an institution setting. So as you're transitioning, there's that debit card. And I'll try not to scroll too fast because sometimes that can mess with our eyes. Some additional benefits for this 2020. Our vision benefit provides adults with $60 additional value in the upgraded frames for their glasses. Our HS program is an online program, so right now with so many things going online, I'll show you some other resources in a little bit. But there are programs, activities, links to help support behavioral and recovery. Baby Locks is a program that we had in the past that you may have seen. The name changed, but now it's called Healthy First Steps, and this is for our expectant or our pregnant moms, and they can earn rewards when they go to certain medical appointments. These are benefits that are available to all of our members, and I want to show you, if any of you are online, or you'll see this later on, you may have seen some of our flyers and brochures. This is one of the ways we try to share with families and folks, what our benefits are. So if it's on paper or it's in a Zoom, we want to make sure that we're sharing these resources with you. So our Healthy Rewards Incentive Program is also a debit card. So you've heard that repeated a couple of times. What we'll do is that we will send you out a letter if there's a specific activity that needs to be done. We'd say, hey, blank appointment. It could be a follow-up exam. It could be your annual exam. We say, if you get this exam done, if you do the things that we, should be doing, then you'll get a reward on your debit card. And every one of those amounts will be specific to that activity that's being asked of you. We can also help you get the cell phone through the Federal Lifeline program. So we can help you access set off the paperwork that you're needing to get that cell phone. If you have United Healthcare through CanCare, well, and even if you know anyone else that has United Healthcare, the website myuhc.com is an amazing website. Everything from we call it pulling up your ID card, sending a copy of your ID card to maybe a caregiver or someone else who's going to the appointment. I love taking a screenshot of it and just know that I have it on my phone in case if I lose the ID card. But you can also look up doctors. It's a full website with plenty of resources, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone to that website. You can access it through an easier way also if you like and have space on your cell phone to download an application. The application is called Health for Me, and it's all one word. And it's the same. It's just like the website, but it's made for the cell phone, so it's kind of easier to navigate. Some additional benefits that we have for our adult members. So our dental benefit has been increased by $500 per year. And I hope I'm getting a signal here or on my computers. I hope I don't break up. But the $500 additional per year. So that could include the cleanings, or excuse me, the fillings that typically have not been covered, but the screenings, x-ray, cleaning, the fillings, up to $500 per year for the adults. Remember, there's still standard Medicaid benefits that are covered for children. So for the most part, they're going to be all right. But transportation, there is those 12 round trips per year within 10 miles to non-medical. So again, it's going to be those food banks, churches, banks, social activities, additional transportation to support group meetings, and that's twice a month. And support group meetings, some examples, especially now, if it's that socialization and that support, it would be those types of events. But I would say anytime you have a question about transportation, you can always call and ask us, and I'll show you our phone numbers in just a bit. Say, hey, can I get this type of transportation? Can I use my benefit for this transportation? Always ask, always, if it isn't clear. Education, we can also help get your GED, or if you would like to take a coding class, we can also refer and provide that coding class for you. Fresh EBT. So if you're familiar with the EBT or the SNAP card, there's an app that you can download and it links up to your card. And so you can have access to recipes, you can look at your balance. And so that's something you can also download. For children, we have some additional programming for them. So A is for Asthma is a newsletter that children will automatically receive in the mail. And that's when we see on the diagnosis codes or on claims that someone has asthma, we'll send that out. $50 towards youth programming. So YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Parks and Rec. It's a matter of calling us and say, I have United and my little one would like to go to the YMCA. We send you a $50 voucher. You take that in person and then they bill us for it. And that would be for each one of the children. I would give this caveat that if you are interested in any one of these programs, just make sure that you're reaching out to the local organization first, because they might be going through some COVID transitions and changes. So kind of see what's going out there, which ones you would like, and then reach out to us and we'll send you that voucher. Kids Health is a website that I love, and you can access this Kids Health website from our United Healthcare webpage, and I'll show you where that website is. But any information, you know, I found some good articles on COVID right now. How do I speak to my children about COVID? How do we talk about our feelings? How can I, as an adult, process this information? So when you're looking for those reputable websites to say, I just need some good, I mean, we're already searching online anyway. So what's that one good place to start off with? I really like that Kids Health page. Food for Thought is a program that we have in partnership with Sesame Street, and we talk about eating healthy on a limited budget. Normally these presentations are done in person, but things have changed. And so then we continue to find ways on how to continue sharing this program. So it could be partnering with other organizations, having a Zoom presentation, but it's a really interactive, and it's one of my favorite programs. It's an interactive program to talk about that eating healthy and on a limited budget. For our pregnant moms, $200 debit card when they go to their first prenatal appointment within the first 42 days of being in the health plan. Community baby showers, will participate in those. And I know that there are some baby showers I've seen out in Western Kansas that they're either starting to go virtual or they're in open spaces. So that's still a way to support our pregnant moms. The Baby Blocks program is going to be that rewards program that's called Healthy First Steps. We will also provide the mosquito repellent to our pregnant moms. Transportation to those appointments, like birthing classes. So those additional classes that moms may need during their pregnancy or would want to have. So that's a part of their 12 annual or the 24 one-ways. You can use it either way. So for our HCBS waiver members, pest control. We'll also provide pest control service, and I believe it's up to $250. If I look on the side, I have a computer here. Up to $250 per year, I believe it is what it is. And they would have to own their own home. We provide transportation to social activities for those on PD. And we've seen the acronyms earlier. So physically disabled, traumatic brain injury, and then IDD as a part of those 12 round trips as well. We have a home helper catalog where it's a catalog that you can pick these over-the-counter items. I say over-the-counter, but they're also durable medical equipment. So just some things that may help, physical things that may help in the home. Dentures are also available for our frail elderly members, and they can receive a full set every 5 years. Some additional benefits for our HCBS waiver members. A wellness calendar is mailed out to our FE members, frail elderly. Respite care is also available for those on the IDD waiver. And then we also have that $50 Parks and Rec voucher available for those on the frail elderly or physically disabled waiver. Some additional behavioral health value-added services that we have. This first one is really one of my favorite ones. It's mental health first aid. Mental health first aid is like a class. It's a class that up until now has been held in person. They now allowed us to start doing it virtually, and we're transitioning into that role. But it talks about what to do. This is the example I use in the classroom. When someone cuts their finger, we most likely know to put a Band-Aid on it if it's just a small cut. But when someone comes to us with a mental health issue or a question or a challenge, do we know how to respond? And so then that's what that class does. And this is one of my favorite ones. Yeah, one of my favorite ones. Seeking safety is also another training, and that helps teach coping skills to adults, youth, and children. Question, persuade, and refer is also another intervention training that teaches, but that one is specific to helping support someone when they're exhibiting suicide signs or behaviors. So these three, mental health first aid, seeking safety, question, persuade, and refer, are nationally recognized programs that help support behavioral health issues and concerns, but nationally recognized. They're awesome programs. Moving on to technology, I mentioned earlier that we have the MyUHC website, the health app. There are also other websites and apps that young people, the On My Way one is a really cool one, where it teaches young people and youth how to prepare for real-world situations. And it's actually designed like in a very fun way. So there's these cool icons, and it's kind of like a game. But earlier where it was mentioned, you know, knowing the value of money and finances, self-sufficiency, independence, it's a way to practice those skills on the computer and online, which a lot of young people like. So that's a really cool program, the On My Way. Those on the IDD waiver will also receive an electronic ebook that also talks a lot about this independence and self-sufficiency skills. And then there's another web-based program, so it's a little bit long right there, where it says personal empowerment, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's still programs that can help those with behavioral health concerns. So again, what this one is really focusing on is a technology piece. So what tools can we provide? And yeah, I love this one, although that's pretty fun. And then I'll show you our contact information. If you are needing this information before you get the PowerPoint, I always like to share, take a screenshot. I like to bring up my cell phone, and whether you watch this on Facebook later or now, I take a screenshot because that's the phone number that I want to hold on to. Our member services is available Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. And those are the folks that can look up files on the computer and log your phone call, and they can do a lot. But our 24-hour nurse line are nurses, and they are available 24 hours a day. So I would say if at any point you're just needing to connect with United Healthcare, contact us. Because even at that 24-hour nurse line, they may be able to say, oh, this is something we can help with, or this is something I know. Or they might say, I would really prefer or recommend that you contact the member services. I say member services, customer service, same thing. Call us at this 877 phone number the following day. So 2 important phone numbers. You can reach through our member services line. You can schedule your transportation. You can ask us questions. But yeah, you can always start there. This is the same phone number for transportation. And make sure that's right. Yeah, 542. Yeah, that's the same phone number you can call for transportation. Those on the HCBS waiver can call 2 days before their appointment. And then those not on the waiver can call 3 days prior. And I know that Stephanie jumped on, so I'm going to run through this last one. Here's the same website again, the MyUHC and the Health for Me app, which we already covered those. And I think I just have one more slide. Nope, that's it. So thank you very much, and thank you for your patience with that audio. But I will hang out here and stop sharing my screen. if you all have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you, everyone. So I know Sherry, Kendall, and Mandy Flower has been answering questions throughout this in the chat, but does anybody else have any other questions that they would like to ask?
Stephanie, this is Nan. I may have missed the answer because the chat went far, but it seemed like there was a discussion about client obligation, and I'm not sure if that was defined.
If you would like to answer that, that would be great. I'm not sure if it was or not.
We left that for you, Nan.
Oh, I was going to give it to you, Mandy. I'm guessing, and I'm doing a little bit of a guess. So client obligation is usually only for adults. So from the way the question was phrased, I believe you may be talking about the parent participation fee, which is something that was part of the waivers through legislative language. But I'm not positive about that. But the parent participation fee, many families have not been, that has not been being collected at the state level. So, but the client obligation is something that is factored based on how many resources the individual themselves have. And it's a very complicated thing, which is why Mandy and Sherry didn't want to jump in there and say it. But there can be, if the individual themselves has too much money, an obligation to pay for a portion of the services.
Good job, Nan. See, you made it sound.
Thank you, Nan.
Tried.
A couple other questions came in. Who does the adaptive assessment?
I'm sorry, I just found my unmute button. The adaptive assessment.
Well, hello, this is Sherry. Whenever you receive that diagnosis from that qualified medical personnel, we get them in so many different ways. They, let's say, for example, just because someone may have a diagnosis of Down syndrome, they may not also have those substantial functional limitations. So there would be an adaptive assessment that would also be done. And it would be determined by that doctor or that psychologist or whoever is completing the diagnosis at that time. So, some people just, they don't have those limitations. So therefore we have to have both, the showing that there are limitations as well as a diagnosis. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, yell out or send another chat. And I know Mandy she did a good job of talking for the CDDO and then the MCOs. There's so many things. So if you guys are overwhelmed, don't think that you're the only ones. So please contact your local CDDO to help walk through the process and look at their websites, and that might make things clearer, but it is very complicated, and I've been around for quite some time and I'm still confused too.
And I think there was a question in the chat about how the CDDO and the MCOs work together. What we do is, we determine that first eligibility, and then the MCOs, and MCOs, correct me if I'm misrepresenting this, the MCOs will look and determine the services, what's going to be provided to the person that has the waiver. So let's say if somebody's in a group home, we will be overseeing that group home to ensure they're meeting licensure compliance, to ensure that the person is living the choice-driven life that they want. And the MCO will also be working with them and ensuring that the funding is there, that the services provided meet their needs. And we work together like that, and we collaborate a lot on, tricky situations, and we try to be a resource for each other, and we try to, send the difficult questions to Nan and Debbie and everybody else, like we just did on the client obligation. So I don't know if the MCOs want to jump in there as well.
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job, Mandy, of explaining that. And I think that is the typical experience that many individuals will have. And I know someone asked about when the MCO decision is made. So for some individuals, they may qualify for Medicaid before they actually either are assessed for the waiver or definitely with the 9-year wait before they get the waiver. So sometimes your MCO decision was made at a different time. As soon as you're awarded Medicaid, whether that's before IDD eligibility or after, is when you make that MCO decision.
Here's another question that was asked, sent to me. So a child needs to meet all 3 criteria, including financial?
Yes, the child has to meet financial, not the family. So that's kind of, if you really want to spend a lot of time, reading, you can look at the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, their website, and it explains it a little bit, but that's kind of shorthand. That's why it's called a waiver. So the DD waiver waives the financial component for the family. So there's different expectations because an individual has IDD. In that case, someone living in their family home, the family's income isn't considered, but only that child's income is. And there are some protected. Sean could probably answer that way better than I can. There are some things that are protected, but in general, it's just that the child themselves does not have a lot of money. More than $2,000.
So a question came in about getting more information from United Healthcare. Everyone should have received an email for this link, and in that email had all the attachments to all of these slideshows. So you should have that information in your email already. You'll also have their contact information in there, so please reach out to them with more questions. Reach out to the CDDO, whether you're in Johnson County, Butler County, Sedgwick. I don't know very many counties in Kansas, so I won't go on. But whatever county you're in, reach out to your local CDDO to get some more information about the IDD waiver. Any additional questions? Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Several of you filled out a pre-survey. You'll get a post-survey after this is done, and we appreciate the feedback. We're still learning. I know we had some technical issues this evening, and I apologize for that. Like I said, we're still learning in this new world. So next month, we will be talking about supported decision-making with Dr. Evan Dean. So look for that information to come, whether you follow us on Facebook or you get our emails. We look forward to for you to join us again. Thanks all so much and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.